What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Soundstage here, presented by NLFX. I am Kyle Dietrich, along with the one and only John Young. John, how are we doing today?
Hey, I'm doing well, Kyle. Thanks for having me on tonight.
Absolutely, my absolute pleasure. I mean, you and Ben have been doing these for a long time, so
We
we appreciate you coming on ours now.
Yeah, excellent. I'm glad it worked out for us to get this in.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. So, John, just kind of starting off here, so you host the Disc Jockey News.
Yep,
That's how a lot of people know you and all that sort of thing. So, how did all that stuff get started for you?
sure. So we started the Disc Jockey News back in 2004 as
Okay.
an entity, and we started publishing a newspaper, a monthly newspaper that went out to DJs from around the country. That went for a number of years. We kind of evolved, and we'll go into that a little bit more. But I think the reason why we did started it back then is at that time there were two magazines in the industry. You had Mobile Beat and you had DJ Times, and they were both very well established within the industry, but they had a higher price point. And we wanted to come out with something that was a free publication that could get to all of the DJs who were kind of just starting out. And because one of the things, a lot of them were like, I can't afford the $20 a year for, and it's like, well, $20 a year or whatever, $10 a year, whatever those magazines were at the time was nothing. But
Yeah.
we wanted to have that source that could basically get something to them to motivate them to improve their business and to grow, and then move on to coming to conventions and investing more into their training and whatever. So that free publication starting 2004 kind of filled that. Our initial mailing for the first few years was around 22,000. We were reaching each and
Wow.
every month just with the mailing. So that
That's
meant
crazy.
that at that time, what I would have to do is I would go to our printer with my little truck. I had a little Ranger type pickup truck.
Okay.
I'd throw all the papers in the back end of it, go to the post office, up to their loading dock, unload, go back and get a second load, come back. And then, of course, the post office people, there was an irony to this. The post office people hated me because of all the
Oh
newspaper
yeah.
bringing. They're like, yeah, you're paying for it, but it's really a lot of work on their side. And I get it.
Yeah. My stepdad works for he's a postmaster, so trust me, he tells me those stories. Oh, you won't believe how many packages this person brought at 5 o'clock.
Yep,
And
exactly. You're
yeah.
that person. You gotta begin
Yep.
again.
You're that guy.
Yeah, but the irony of that is here today, 20 years later, 21 years later, I'm working in a post office as
Yeah.
part of it. So kind of came
There you go.
full circle.
Yeah.
So I get
Hey,
that guy
full
coming
circle.
in. Yeah.
Yeah. Full
So,
circle.
so yeah, we were the free publication for the longest time, and then around 2000, oh goodness gracious, it must have been 10, 12, somewhere in that ballpark, we had to transition into a paid for publication because of costs of printing and postage, and things were just
Yeah.
getting to the point where we couldn't continue to send that many, even though it was cheaper to send, you know, per item was cheaper to send a big quantity. Just things were changing within our industry. And I
For
think
sure.
as you started to see the advent of some of the early online shopping experiences, some of the manufacturers and some of our dealers that were in those early publication print issues, they weren't able to make the sales like they were at one time, and it
Yeah.
was the evolving world. So we ran that for a number of years, and in around that 20, our initial plan was to wrap up our print in about 2019. We extended it 1 year and planned to have our last issue hit January of 2020 for a print issue. And it just so happened that that's what we did. We wrapped up our last print. It was January 2020, and then a couple of weeks later, the world fell apart, and it was like,
All because there was no DJ in the newsletter anymore.
yeah, exactly. That's what
Every,
caused it. Yeah,
yeah. That's
but
what
it
I
was,
heard.
yeah, it was one of those things that our timing was obviously had no idea what was going to happen, but
Right.
the manufacturer money and everything had just came to a screeching halt after that time. It was like, oh my gosh, we got lucky. Too.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. But yeah, and then around at 20, I think it was around 20. Well, Ben and I have been doing the show. Our very first show we did was in 2014. We did our first show together out in Las Vegas, and I think I kind of launched. That was when DJ and TV launched, is in 2014, maybe 2013, with a couple of things somewhere in that ballpark. But the actual channel would have been mainly in 2014, where we Ben's show and doing some other kind of weekly shows for the
Yeah.
DJ community. So we were kind of on the first in the industry to do a weekly type show, a reoccurring show. Many were doing little things here and there, but to actually be doing something on a regular basis, we were one of the first ones to be out there and doing that. And you go back and look at some of our early ones with the technology and the internet issues and all
Yeah.
these things. It's like, oh my gosh. And of course, Ben looks like he's 18 at the time. There's that too.
Yeah, that's he doesn't look a ton older, he just looks grayer
Yeah,
now.
he definitely looks grayer now that he's
Yeah.
got the beard going on. Yeah, it definitely
Yeah.
makes him look like more of that North Woods,
Yeah.
that
He's
old.
really more taking that Paul Bunyan thing literally,
He
yeah.
really has. He really has. Yeah,
Yeah.
people don't know about the X sequence that he does before the show, but that's
Hey, that's
that's
private. We don't need to talk about
yeah,
it,
that's
so.
um,
Yeah, well, I mean, the other thing that I don't know if you know this, I think actually owe you a big thank you.
hmm.
Um, because so obviously I work at NLFX now and all that sort of thing, and I became friends with Ben, but I met Ben through DJ TV.
Oh,
That's how
cool.
I got to. That's how I became aware of Ben Stowe.
Sure.
Because I was a aspiring DJ. The one who uh, people have heard me talk about. I started in 6th grade doing all that sort of thing, but then I was just doing like we all do. We do part time, friends, family, the whole thing like
Oh,
that. And then I finally decided to kind of start taking it seriously. Like, hey, you know what? I'm actually pretty good at this. I think I can actually make a go of it.
mhm.
It was probably around 2016, 2017.
Sure.
And, where do you go to find stuff on DJing? Well, in 2016, 2017, you go to YouTube. You go to, so
Right.
I found all the disc jockey stuff. I found like one of the things that I used to really enjoy is you doing like your walk around of it, like Atlantic City and all those sort
Sure.
of, you going to buy all the booths saying all the different things. Cause I was just, oh, who's going to be there? What's he going to see? Is he going to spoil some new stuff and all that sort of thing? And then, through that, then I found your show with Ben. And then I found all those different things, which eventually led me to reach out to NLFX and start
Mhm.
becoming a customer. And so this is really your fault that they
Oh, well,
hired me. So if Ben has any issues that he needs to take up with you on that, that's between you
there
guys.
we go.
Yep. But so thank you for that. I've really found like I've in a weird way found my calling to
Mhm.
do stuff like this. And so, again, thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you for
Oh,
doing that and
yeah.
putting out the thing. And you know, and I think just from the overall community, I just kind of want to say thank you because there's so much different stuff that's going on out there that is oh, whether it be like your gig logs or your things like that, but there isn't anybody really talking. There isn't too many people talking about what's just kind of going on in the industry and all that sort of thing. So we really appreciate it, and obviously any sort of great education that you give us all the time. Obviously with your things with Ben and the DJ hangouts and all that other kind of stuff. So from all of us, thank you
Yeah.
for starting it.
Well, thank you for bringing that up and saying that. I appreciate it tremendously, and it's really, and then that's circling all the way back to the beginning. Is that was really also part of what we wanted to do. Is that the helping to train in the industry and helping people. When I was speaking in the early 2000s to different groups, it was my thing was basically my efforts are to help the industry so that when my children get to the point and they say, hey, I want to be a mobile DJ, that it will become a viable profession that they can go and be involved with and to be able to make a living if they choose to go that direction. And that was a big part of the impetus for everything we have done over the years. And it's always cool to be able to hear stories like that when people are sharing and saying, hey, gosh, I was struggling and I was, hemming and hawing, and then we saw and we got connected, and the next thing you know, we're being more profitable. Our business is growing, and we now are doing this, and we're enjoying life while we're doing
Yeah.
it. And that was the big part of it. Is I mean, there's a lot of people out there who can be very successful at mobile DJing, but their life sucks because they just do not. They can do it and they make money, but it isn't something that they love. But it's something,
Yeah.
yeah. And the idea behind it is to be able to take something you love and to be able to make that into your profession. And the people that we've been able to help over the years do that has just been that thing that keeps us going. 20 some years later.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think this would be if you started in 2004. This would be 21 years.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy. This show can now drink. So now you can finally have a drink on the show.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Well, even just, as Ben and I've talked on a number of occasions, we're in a couple of weeks, we're going to be starting our 11th year of he and I doing shows together. And granted, we don't do a show every week, for all those times, but we probably got 300, 400, 500 shows under our belts from all those years, because we're hitting.
It adds up. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
it really does. And we still haven't covered all the topics within the industry. Is really, they got a
Well,
crazy
and
big.
I think that's something that's really kind of great about the industry, whether you're talking about just, just even in the DJ side, not even the cool, like the crazy production stuff that Ben does, but just the DJ side, stuff is changing all the time. Think back to, 2004 when you first started. What would DJs have given to have an Evolve 50?
Mm.
To have an RCF J8, to have,
Yes.
any of those portable column array systems, the fact that would even be possible is like, no, there's no way. Just physics doesn't work like that. You can't do it. But I think that's one of the great things that's about this industry, is that everything is the same, but everything changes.
Very much so. You look back at some of those
Yeah.
early shows, and we were talking about dual CD players and how excited we were when they could actually go and give you an auto BPM.
Yeah.
That kind of, and we were just starting to get into the computer side of it. It wasn't really quite a standard as it is, obviously,
Yeah.
today. But it evolves, it changes and changes so quickly. And
Yeah. I thought I was so cool because I had 2 iPods at one point
oh
that I
yeah,
could go in between.
Mhm.
I was pretty cool.
And there were so many songs on each one, and you didn't have to
Yeah,
carry all of those CDs that were the
I
wall of
know.
CDs back. Oh my gosh, you were big time in it.
I was big time in it. I don't want to say, and I don't want to say that after one of those iPods died that I didn't start bringing out my desktop computer because I couldn't afford a laptop.
Yep.
I literally brought my desktop, that had a hard drive. So, which means if I ever hit a bump, I just lost all my music anyway.
Yeah.
So, things have
Uh,
changed
a
just a
little
little
bit.
bit in the world, which is kind of crazy. So, let's take your whole situation and let's go back even farther.
Mhm.
So, where did you get your start DJing? How
So
did that all come about?
yeah, so I would have been in high school, probably a junior in high school, and it
Okay.
was a friend and I. We, through our playing football and things together, we would go to practice, and then afterwards we would go over and shoot pool at his house, and we would play pool, listen to music. Well,
Hmm.
over time, we both were collecting music, and we had quite a repertoire of music to play. So then that fall of my junior year, so we would be talking about 1985, maybe. Some of the kids on the student council came up and said, "Hey, you guys have got a lot of music. Can you come and DJ our homecoming dance at the school that we were going to?" It's like, "Yeah, sure, let's give it a try." So we went and took my home stereo system and his home stereo system and put them together, and
Yes.
went and
Just
made it work. It wasn't,
balling out.
yeah, it wasn't pretty. It wasn't very super loud, not by today's standards whatsoever.
Right. Yeah.
But at that moment in time, it was pretty decent for that group. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was our first
Absolutely.
show, and we did a few more dances at the school, and in 1990 we progressed to actually having a business name, and then our own gear, and started doing weddings.
That's crazy. And you've just been doing it
Yeah,
ever since.
pretty much ever since. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously on the DJ and TV side, it's the education and continuing and doing all that sort of thing and kind of giving back to the industry, which is amazing. But what is it that keeps you DJing? What is it that keeps you wanting to go out there and do that?
That's a great question, and truthfully, there's a level of that motivation that is today is probably centered around. I have a couple of some of my children some of my boys who like to go with, and it becomes kind of quality time with them.
Sure.
I don't get as excited about going and performing as I used to. Now that, not that I
Right.
don't enjoy it on occasion. There's sometimes like uh, for New Year's Eve, I had a local bar call and say, "Hey, can you come and do it?" And it's like, that'd be kind of fun. I haven't done one of those in a little while. Do I get, if it would have been booked months ago, would I have been excited about it? Probably not. But at the last minute and I had nothing going on, it's like, yeah, sure. And I had a good time.
Sounded fun. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounded like it would just be, kind of something a little different. But the idea of going and, I've gotten to that point in my career where the idea of going on a Saturday and losing the whole day and potentially
Yeah.
half of Sunday for a wedding just doesn't excite me anymore. I can go and do the things, and when we're done, I'm really good at what I do, and the crowd and venues and such are like, wow, we haven't, that kind of, the feedback is tremendous, but I don't have that passion like I used to have, where it would be like, oh my gosh, I got to be out somewhere every weekend because I just love this thing.
Yeah, can't get away from it. Yeah,
Yeah, I enjoy it, but I appreciate the time away from it much more than I did at a given time.
sure.
So it's an evolving area. Once the get to the point where the boys are like, yeah, we're kind of done with it. I could see where some DJs they'll kind of transition from weddings and school dances to doing trivia and different things, and still being having their fingers in that part of it.
Hmm.
I don't know if that will be me. It might be
Okay.
just once the boys are done with the DJ industry. Or I may just it might be that time to say, thanks. It's been a great ride, and I love everybody, but it's that chapter of my life might be ready to go, or it might be one of those things that it becomes a passion again, and it's like I want to do as much and get out there as much as possible. But
Yeah, sure.
yeah,
That's and that's I think that's also another great thing is this is also something that you can do the few times a year and just go out and people know who you are and you have a great time and you rock a party and you do all that. Like, you know what? That's awesome. I'm good for a couple months here and a couple months there, and you can just take the ones that you want to do and all that sort of thing. So I think that's a good way to roll with it too, as long as you're keeping everything happy on your end, and I think it's great.
and I think part of it is that the passion to help people is kind of an innate human thing for most people, that they want to do that, and at
Hmm.
times that's been helping people have a great wedding day or having these successful dances. Then it evolved into helping the DJ industry improve their businesses and things such as that. And as I've kind of progressed through life, finding that enjoyment from helping people is still there. It's just evolved and doing it in different ways. And I'm to the
Right.
point where helping people today, I've in the DJ industry, we have helped and changed lives. Between myself and our team, we've done that, and it's wonderful. And I'm so glad that we've been able to be there and help people. That's just a fabulous thing. But it's almost time for the next generation to be doing that. And
Sure.
today, I can get the same level of gratification from helping a 90-year-old get their packages, get the right packages and get them into their car and get them into the
Yeah.
car and not falling on the ice and getting them home safely. um,
Yeah.
it's just things have changed, and at one time I would have looked at that and said, oh, that's just not, I can do bigger things in the world than that. Yeah, we've been there and we've done those bigger things and we've helped
Sure.
people, and I can be in a really good place and do these things today and become that mentor to a dozen different people in different areas, and that's okay. I enjoy that role. It works for me, and again, the next generation, it's their time to step up into that and to be that source.
Yeah, I mean, doing it for 21 years, as many people have, as how many views you've had on YouTube, and the different times, like you said, you've gone out and talked and done all that sort of thing. I mean, that's a huge contribution to the community. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. There's got to be a whole number of just different people out there who, wouldn't be where they are in their DJ career without shows like DJ TV and your nights with Ben and all that sort of thing. So, it is kind of crazy how things change, and obviously life changes and
Right.
circumstances change and all that other sort of thing. I I've been haven't been quite as busy this year and things like that. We just had our fourth kid about 7 months ago, so
Nice.
all sorts of busy and crazy and all that sort of thing going on in my life too.
Oh yeah.
So totally get that. Um, so when you were DJing, was there any sort of um do you have a memory that really kind of sticks out, like, hey, this, I can't believe this happened, I can't believe I was able to do that, do this for this couple, do this for this family, anything like that?
I don't have the type of stories. Some people have got some really, really good stories that they talk about, that all of a sudden the bride and groom are naked running across the dance floor type of things. That was
Yeah.
never, never one of those things that happened to me. And there's a part of me thinking, gosh, what am I doing wrong? No one's getting naked on my shows. No one's
Yeah,
doing
what
that.
the heck.
The,
Yeah.
the closest I ever got to is, when the ex, the bride's ex shows up, and she freaks out and goes and locks herself in the bathroom, and he crawls in through he goes up and to a different part of the building and crawls through the roof and then falls in through the bathroom. That's as close to an entertaining story.
Okay,
Weird.
that is a very entertaining. I think you're selling yourself short. That's a very entertaining story, first of all.
Yeah. Well, this
Okay,
happened in a small town called Staples, Minnesota,
okay.
just up the road. But yeah, it was the ex shows up, wasn't invited,
Well,
and
yeah, I would hope not.
and the bride of just completely panicked, went and locked herself into the bathroom stall. And then, of course, they were freaking out. And oh no, how do we get her out? And we don't have a key. And the venue didn't have a key to get in there. And they were freaking out. And then someone hears this blomp noise of something like a big wet sack of whatever fall in the bathroom, hitting there. They freak out thinking that it's the bride. Well, the bride starts screaming. Then they think is the bride and she's hurt.
Yeah, she's hurt. Yeah.
No, it turned out that her ex decided he wanted to talk to her, so he went into the like a storage room and back, crawled up into the ceiling, it was the tile type ceiling,
Ceiling,
and he crawled. I don't know how he managed to crawl from one end to the other without falling.
Yeah,
but he managed to do it. And then once he was in the bathroom, that's when he fell through onto the floor of the bathroom, and he was bruised from the fall, but I think she tore into him because he came out with a couple of black eyes and a bloody nose. And,
ooh,
and yeah, then all of a sudden she unlocked and got herself out, and the police came.
Yeah, you're definitely selling yourself short. That's way better than any story I have.
So yeah, there was. I mean, that's as close to anything fun. Otherwise, yeah, most beyond that, it's not really.
I mean, the closest like kind of one you were talking about before, I guess I haven't ever shared this one. I don't know. It was like 2014, 2015. I was still just kind of doing it for friends every once in a while. And yeah, I did have one where the bride and all of her bridesmaids streaked through after, but this is like during cleanup. It wasn't like during the thing or any of that kind of stuff. They just like went in the back like they were changing. I was tearing everything down and doing all that. And all of a sudden you just hear the screaming, turn around. Here they all come, just wearing their high heels, just running through the venue, did like 3 laps and then ran back. I was like, all right.
Okay. Well, there's the party.
Confusing, but okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't. Not that type of guy, but
we used to do a lot of weddings up at the Holiday Inn in Alexandria, and they have a pool just outside the banquet hall rooms. So after a point in time in the night, 12:30, the party's winding down here, it became a thing that the Holiday Inn hated, but the guests had talked about in advance that somebody was going to end up in the pool. And there were numerous times over the years where all of a sudden clothes would go, guys would be throwing their tuxedos off, and then they were headed to the pool. And the little security guys like, no, you can't. It's all dark and everyone, people are sleeping. Yeah, it never stopped them.
Yeah, if they've already got to the point where they're taking their clothes off, you're already
somebody's getting it. Somebody's going
to you've already lost the war.
Yeah,
as it so is.
Oh.
So continuing on with like DJ and TV. So little different things have kind of split off from that. Like you said, you have the the after Tuesday night, you have the why can't I think of the name of it?
But yeah, we've
listening to music. And
what we've been able to utilize, and this actually goes back to in 2020, February of 2020, we were involved with the Las Vegas, the Photo Booth Expo. And we did the first year of the DJ side, the DJ track of that. And as part of that, Brian Red had said, hey, we need a kind of a lounge area for DJs to just kind of hang out and chill. So we created at that show a real chill room where there was some gear there, and there was a controller and a few things. So DJs could come in, they could sit on their couches and things, they could sit and talk. They wanted to go and spin a set for some buddies and show them some mixing, whatever. Those were all in that room, and that was our chill room. Well, after the show, that was such a hit live that we started the chill room. And in time, the chill room became a spot where some of these discussions, they were like, there was some great content we talked about last night. We should be recording this. And
sure.
Yeah. So then it became the Tuesday night music show with Jay and Brian and the crew there. And then Monday night, became kind of an area in which Howie started the Monday night, where he was kind of doing a topic and things, and that's evolved where they do the 2 nights, and then we can put those we stream those up later and send everything over to the podcast with the audio and such. But it's become kind of a neat little community in there that they can go to. I'm just logging in with djntv.com/chill. There are days when I get up at 5 a.m. now because of how life has changed. And there are
Yeah.
times I go down and I can go just to check and see the chill room and see what's going on in there. And there's people in there talking yet from the night before. It's like, I saw you in there when I checked in about 9:30 at night, and you were in the chill room. And here you are, looking much worse, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, a number of hours later.
Drinking too many iced teas, are they?
There's not much of, I don't see that kind of stuff. It's just they
Yeah.
get in there and they're talking shopping. And when we've been to
But
conventions,
7 out,
yeah, you've experienced that where you just sit around and you start talking, and the next thing you know,
Yeah.
it's midnight, 1 in the morning. You're like, oh my
Yeah,
gosh, where did the
4
time
a.m.,
go?
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the big problems. Ben and I roomed together at NAMM one year, and that became, it's like the lights were out and everything was down, and then we start talking.
Yep.
And you just talking back and forth a little bit, and then the next thing you know, it's like, oh my gosh, we got to be up in a few hours.
Yeah, you got to be up in a few minutes usually.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
how it generally
exactly.
goes.
So it was,
Yeah.
that's kind of how those things came about. But yeah, so that gave us that made it kind of a variety of different shows, and we've had different shows over the years that we've been back and forth with. We're actually kind of setting our spring, late winter, spring schedule, and we'll be doing interview shows similar to this. I'll be getting back into doing those a couple each week for the next
Awesome.
next number of months. It's one of those areas in which I haven't dedicated the time to that, because it, as you well know, it takes time to
Yeah.
get people scheduled and interview, or
Mhm.
find out, especially people you really don't know, and what are we going to talk about, what direction
Yeah.
we need to go. So
Absolutely.
it's now that I'm comfortable with my, all the other aspects of my day. I don't have, not new to the post office. I'm not new to this. I can handle these things really well, and then I can
Mhm.
kind of bring the interview side back, because there's always gold nuggets you can pick up in these interview shows.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And that's, we're into that part of the world where we can do the long format interview show, and then we can take the interview and literally
Chop it up.
chop it up and put those little nuggets up as shorts or something, so that they can reach more people than we can with just the big long format shows.
Yeah, and that goes the same thing. Like the technology keeps changing; it moves ever forward, and being able to reach more and more people. And we were talking about the conferences, and obviously, as we're recording this, NAM is coming up next week, and then MEX, the show you're talking about, that's in February coming up, and all that sort of thing. And it, I'm so glad that they're still doing it, because, like you said, with you're going to the chill room and there's still people there talking. It's still like that at the trade shows, and
Oh, sure.
I I can't stress enough to people how valuable those things are. Um, the biggest thing is the networking. Like I wouldn't, that's when I first met Ben face to face, was at a trade show. That's how I met, I met Chris Hintz, I met Toad, I met, you know, a million different people that I now have a relationship with, and I can call on and say, hey, would you be on my podcast? First of all, which is fantastic for content and all that sort of thing. But also, you know what? I called somebody that I've met through the thing, and I'm like, hey, I have this question about my photo booth stuff. I know you are killing it in photo booth. Can we talk for a couple minutes?
Mm-hmm.
And just being able
Yes.
to have that conversation, and being able to do that because you went to the same thing, you were at the same conference, doing all that sort of thing, and I think that's what's fantastic. With like shows like DJ and TV, you can get all the information, you can do all that. Um, but I also don't want people to forget, man, face to face, it's still one of the best ways to learn and do all that sort of thing.
Huge.
And yeah,
Yeah.
the stuff that you do and we try to do and put out and everything like that. Definitely, keep listening to that too, because you could, like you said, when you're talking to somebody, you can get so many good little nuggets that you didn't think about. I've been sitting here, this 21st or 22nd episode that we're doing or whatever. I still remember just sitting there, the first couple I was doing, I was just like writing. I was like, oh, like, oh,
Exactly. Yeah. I
yeah,
said notepad. It's somewhere when I
yeah,
was doing interviews on a regular basis, and the selfish side of it is that when I'm interviewing people, there's things that I learn from others, and they can say something, and I can ask a question and get a gem that is applicable to my situation, whether it's my
Hmm.
personal life or business life or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, so for maybe no one else got anything out of tonight's show, but by gosh, I
Mhm.
did. There
I
was
sure did. Yeah.
yeah, and
But
it's
but
like
I
that's
but like you said, I think all of us, as you're going through and you're listening and you're doing all that sort of thing, I think that's what's great about shows like, kind of how I try to run this show is just let it go where it goes, and because you never know where it's going to lead and what awesome content and thought you're going to get out of it. So
you mentioned, of course, being at the importance of networking at trade shows, and it's one of those things that I've been in the industry for a long time, 20 some years with the Disc Jockey News stuff, but most of my best friends are from the industry, and most of those relationships were built and honed at conventions around the country, whether we were traveling together to a convention or we would get there and we'd meet, or rooming together with it happened numerous times where we were doing that.
hmm
But my literal best friends in the world are fellow DJs that I've either met at conventions and then the relationships blossom from there, or some variation of that. Um,
yeah,
Troy, who's a good friend of mine, I met before, but our friendship really didn't take off until we started traveling together to go to conventions. That's when we really got to know each other and hang out together more. If we wouldn't have done that, we would have just, he's another DJ in the market type of thing, and that would have been about it. So
yeah,
there's it just I always kind of looked at, what we do with DJ and TV or with the newspaper. Basically, we want to whet people's appetite. We want to give them some tools so they can be more effective and start to build their business. But knowing that this is just the first step,
yeah,
and there's the next step, and there's the next step. And somewhere in these next steps is going to a convention and investing in your education and investing in your
hmm
network in the industry. We're
yeah,
probably, we're starting, and we can give you that a little bit. And if you put a lot of time into it and reach out to people and engage in chats, you can get a little bit more in this area. But the real magic can happen in those face-to-face discussions, whether it's Atlantic City, Las Vegas, or wherever. Um,
right.
that's where the real magic happens.
Yeah, absolutely. One of my best friends in the industry, he did the first episode of this, Jesse Swanson.
Mhm.
It was the same thing. We've been really good friends, and we had talked all the time, and we met each other a few times because when we first met, we lived like 5 or 6 hours away from each other when we first met. But then we did the same thing. We went to a DJ show
Sure.
together,
Yeah.
and then it's like, oh, hey, okay, and then again, yes, sitting in the room together, walking around Las Vegas for 4 days, walking around Milwaukee, walking around, you know, and you get to know people. And then the other nice thing about that is then you get comfortable with them, and then you can ask the real questions that you want to answer,
Hmm.
that you want answers to. It's again, it's not necessarily that you're afraid to ask it, but you're like, well, I don't know. Do they want to tell me? Is it any of my business? Are they gonna think I'm weird because I'm asking them this question and we've only met a couple times, um, and so I think, like you said, it just the going and the thing is just such a huge thing. But
And I think we get to a point in our lives where, the question side is great, and that's at a level. But then as these relationships build and get to a point where now they become that sounding wall for sometimes ideas, sometimes I need to vent, sometimes I just need a shoulder to cry on type of a thing. And
yeah,
that's what where those relationships have been able to develop into, where we can have those. And in essence, yes, we're having to do life together remotely because of distance in really all cases, because I'm in central Minnesota and there's no one around me. But it's still something that you can connect with people on a regular basis and talk to them, phone call a couple of times a week, and video chat off and on.
hmm
You can still be there and take advantage of those friendships we've been able to develop over the years. And again, a lot of that was because of the conventions and doing that.
yeah, for sure. And let's be honest, our wives don't want to hear us talk about DJing one more time.
Not
They've
so much, not so much.
Yeah, they've had enough. They've
Yeah,
my wife says all the time, "Can you just talk to Jesse about this? Can you
yeah,
just?"
yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry.
The DJ and or talking business stuff that
Yeah,
you become obsessed with, or
yeah,
complaining about something that happened in the industry or some piece of gear, and they're like, "Why are you complaining about that piece of gear?" you're not going to buy it. No, but this company should know better than to produce that type of a piece of gear because it's just whatever. And she's like,
Okay, first of all, you need to stop reading my emails to my wife.
right.
But that's,
But
pretty
it's,
sure that's what I say most of the time. Why would they do this?
yeah, exactly.
Why didn't they think to call me?
Yeah,
That's because I'm the only DJ that matters. But
yeah, all they needed to do was add this one little feature and it would be awesome, but they didn't, did it?
yeah,
And my
they
wife's
didn't
like,
even think about it.
really? Are we going there again? Come on now. No,
Yes,
honey.
that's what we do.
Let's talk about
DJs, we
what we're gonna
we
make for supper.
can't wait for more equipment, but then we complain when we get more equipment.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so NAMM's fantastic for that. So we're
Hey, oh,
excited for that
exactly.
coming
Yep,
up.
that'll be a fun event and
For
some neat
sure.
stuff coming this year. I've heard some stuff, and I'm sure you have too. That should make it a kind of an exciting show this year. So.
It'll be a really good show from what I've been hearing. Obviously we're still trying to get some manufactured, so we'll be out there. Hopefully we'll be able to get some videos up, depending on the manufacturer, obviously. But also it'll be really nice to talk to them and kind of see what else that we can't show yet, but they have planned.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of some people who know this, some people don't. A lot of the NAMM stuff is not available till March.
Yep.
And then, but a lot of it is, hey, we're working on this, and then they actually gauge
Yep.
retailers' feedback. Like, hey, this is something we're thinking about doing. What do you think?
Oh, yeah.
So that's when the one thing that we just complained that they don't do enough. There are some who do that at NAMM. We had a partner that did that with us last year, and they kind of took one of the projects that they were doing that was close to finish, and they kind of took it back down to the studs and like, okay, this isn't as good as we thought it was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we need to change it a little bit. And I'm sure I say me, but they talked to 50 different people. I'm sure
Exactly. Yeah.
they got everybody's opinion and decided that. But
Mm-hmm.
so speaking of equipment, all that sort of things. One thing I do like to do every week and talk about this because I think every DJ at their core is a bit of a gearhead. I think you kind of have to be to nerd out about it and things like that. So,
Sure.
do you mind if we go through so you're gonna go out and you're gonna do a wedding or a school dance? You can decide however you want to do it.
Right.
Kind of what's your loadout? So, what kind of audio stuff do you use? Let's start with are you an external mixer? Or are you just using your controller? What do you
Yeah,
do?
I've do the controller thing. I've got we've been fans of the Denon gear, so
Sure.
we have a couple that are still functioning, but as you know, time has has gotten to the point now where they don't all work as they do, but they're still hanging in there.
Yeah.
Uh,
Which ones do you have?
I've got I use the 7,000s, and my son will use the 8,000 because he likes the screen and it looks
Mhm.
cooler.
Yeah.
But then again, when he's doing weddings, he'll use the 7,000 because it's easier to transport than the
Yeah.
big ones.
That's actually I have a 7,000 that's in a coffin that I just use to take to small little things.
Mhm.
So I still use mine quite often too.
Yeah, they're a nice controller. It's just
Hmm. I really liked it.
yeah, it would be I just would be liking to see a new generation of that, and maybe we'll see one of these days. But it's like
Maybe.
otherwise, we'll be looking at whatever's next. But as far
Yeah,
as sound,
for sure.
I'm a huge fan of Electro Voice. I've had over the years, I've had pretty much most of the major manufacturers. Starting back in the day when PV was
Oh yeah.
the only thing I could get from our local shop that we had, and a JBL and it was Bose and Bag End, and then moved into Yamaha stuff and Mackie, and then now I'm in the EV world with our gear. I've got the Evolve 50s, love those. Everse, I love those and such, but probably my go-to smaller sound system right now is the ELX 200, the 10P tops over the 12P subs, 12SP.
Okay.
We take the tops, we put them on stands, we stack the two 12-inch subs, and that little sound system fits in my Subaru. I can go and do that smaller bar. I can go and do that, that 100-person event, and it gives me more sound pressure than the Evolve 50s, which I love the Evolve 50s. It doesn't give me the dispersion quite, so it's a little different beast. But
Hmm.
just for quick shows and such, it has become kind of my sound system of preference.
Okay.
we run with that little guy. So yeah,
And you stack them. So do you stack them right in front of your like right in front of your table, or do you
just
stack them off to the side,
off
or?
to the side.
Okay.
Yeah, I just stack them, just to the kind of under by one of the speaker stands. And I haven't been too much into any of that area, as far as, oh, should I put them under the table and hide them? I just let them go.
Yeah, sure. No, that
They
makes sense.
work very well.
Okay. That's awesome. And then so what do you got? What do you do for microphones?
Oh, say that again, Kyle. I think I hit the wrong button here.
Sorry. Yeah, no, it's okay. What do you do running for microphones?
Um, I was a huge Shure fan for the longest time, and then I got into the EV stuff a couple of years ago. I was having some
Mhm.
issues with my Shure because they were getting to be older, and so then
Mhm.
I talked to Ben, and it's like, well, what can you recommend for me? Well, he recommended that, and by gosh,
Mm.
it worked really, really, really well.
That's awesome. You have the ND76?
Uh,
Is that the capsule that you have?
no, I have the 420s.
420s. Okay.
Yep,
Sure.
I wanted to basically kind of jump into the a little bit, just kind of step things up a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, one of their better ones. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep, and it works incredibly well. That's one of the things that, in time with, or working with Ben, it's like, okay, so this is what I want, and I want it, and it's
Yeah.
like, I don't mind spending a little bit more to get, like the lab mics. It's like I could get the kind of the base lab mic that, comes with some of the kits, and it's like, yeah, I want to make it. If I'm going to do it, I'd rather spend a little bit more the first time and be done with the.
Yeah. I wish I would have taken that advice for most of my first, I don't know, year and a half or 2 years of purchasing equipment. The whole buy once, cry once.
Yeah.
I definitely use that philosophy now. Um, because I burned myself. Not
Hmm.
even that they burned me. I just burned myself because oh well, this'll work, and then it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
just doesn't work how
Exactly.
you want it to, which
Yeah.
is
It's
never.
so frustrating when a guy does that, and it's like, oh, because
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I remember when I bought new pair of lights, and I told my wife, I don't know that I'm gonna have to buy any more. Like these are just gonna be perfect.
Hmm.
I don't know. 7 months later, I was like, no, they're not what I want.
Lighting is,
It's
yeah.
just
There's this trail of destruction, for lack of a better way to describe it. Not that the lights are bad or
yeah,
but it's just that. Well, I think I want to do something different.
yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
The one light we keep coming back to is this silly old mirror ball, that as we've gone through over the years, we had at one time we had this kind of all-in-one tree, and it had a 12-inch mirror ball, and we ran those for a number of years. Then we got away from it and did the star ball and different things such as that. And then we came back with 16-inch mirror balls, and we were like, yeah, this is pretty cool. We ran those for a number of years. Then we got rid of that, and we went to some of these oh, they're the
Rotosphere.
jelly dome. Yes, kind
Oh,
of. There were some rotospheres in there, but yeah, some of the that did the same effect, and you could control it now via DMX and make it nice and slow. And it's like, oh, this is really cool. So we ran that for a little bit, and then 2 years ago or so, yeah, it must have been 2 years ago, I went and got a 20-inch mirror ball, and got an LED light that was finally bright enough to make that thing pop. Well,
uh,
that's been I think that was the struggle with once we got away from those 30-watt pin spots, that the old, what were they, par 36 pin spots, but the old fat, or the old ones there. Once we got away from those and we started going LED, they were never, I didn't feel they were ever bright enough. You could tell
no,
that but it was
yeah.
disappointing. So
So it didn't give you the vibrance that you wanted from
no,
it. Yeah,
you'd be at a wedding and you're setting up and such, and you're earlier in the day, and all of a sudden, the sun is just coming through the window just right, and then it hits the mirror ball, and you're like, oh, that's what I want. I want that.
yeah,
And then I
exactly.
turn on the little, 7-watt LED
Yeah.
bulb, and it's like, whoa, that was just
I'm
disappointing.
pretty sure that I heard that some of them were just using the ones that you could get in a microwave for the most. They're just those little tiny ones.
Yeah, it could be,
So,
could
but
be. It was so
yeah,
so disappointing, but
it was. So those are what you're running out. You're running the two 20-inch mirror balls, or just one, or
just the one. Yeah,
I
yeah.
was say I don't think you need two 20-inch ones.
No,
That's a pretty big mirror ball.
yeah, that
So you
is.
do anything else besides that, or just those? And
It
do you
depends
have
on the show.
obviously up lights and stuff?
Yeah, we do.
Maybe.
We've got some uplighting and different things, but I tend to go more minimal on
Sure.
these gear. we have the ability to do the big thing. I think I've got probably 16 moving head fixtures, all the same into one. And then I've got some of the bigger moving heads and some of the wash and zoom and the BI things. I've got way too much gear. And there's that path of destruction because
Yeah,
I
for sure.
have them and it's like, oh my gosh, I should be using these and these are going to be great. And they'll look awesome at every school. And I do, 2 schools with them. And then either I get bored and we go to a different piece of lighting, or, that level of school, we change and all of a sudden we're doing smaller schools, or we're doing a school that they don't work in anymore,
Yeah.
because the space is way too big for that particular fixture, whatever.
Yep. No, it's always a fun trade off and all that sort of thing.
Very much so.
Uh, John, I know you got to get going here pretty quick. Just the last thing I like to kind of talk to
Yeah.
everybody about. Obviously, you said you've known Ben for a long time. So you said you ended up meeting him you met him at a trade show? Is that how you got hooked up with NLFX?
Where would we have met? That's a great question. Um, I'm guessing we probably would have met in Las Vegas,
Okay.
possibly, because
I mean, with
really,
both you being from Minnesota, that makes sense.
yeah, it would possibly, yeah, because you never meet anyone from Minnesota until you go to Vegas. It was either we met in Vegas or it might have been during some of the early, but I know it had to have been in Vegas because I think that Ben might have had some ads in Mobile Beat. This is before I even thought about doing the Disc Jockey News. I think Ben might have had an ad or two in there early,
Hmm.
and then it would have been somewhere in that early 2000s when they started to make an appearance out there.
Okay.
And
Awesome.
that might have been when we met and we started chatting, and then we started producing a DJ convention in Minneapolis, and Ben was right there and supporting and helping drive the event and get people there, and doing some things with the content and helping with that side of it, and
Yeah.
became kind of a neat little thing here for the DJs in the upper Midwest, which then some of that kind of evolved to the Midwest DJs, into that event.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah,
Well, I just want to say, we appreciate all the support and everything that you always give us, shout outs and all that stuff for things that they do. And, we appreciate that. And we love giving back to DJs and all that sort of thing too. And so thank you so much for being on here with me.
yeah,
Really appreciate it. It's such a honor to have you on after I've seen so many shows that you've done and all that sort of thing. So,
yeah.
um,
Thank you.
is there anything else you want to give any shout outs or anything before you got to roll out? You got to, Facebook, Instagram, obviously
Yeah,
your
I
YouTube
mean,
channel, all that.
we're Disc Jockey News pretty much everywhere you go. If you look at Disc Jockey News, that'll pop us up on any of the social channels. And yeah, we should be doing a series of Ben Stowe shows here between now and in June. We usually take the summer off with Ben's shows, so you can
Yeah,
kind of pop in on a Tuesday night at our 9 o'clock Eastern time frame and check out what we're talking about this week, type of thing.
perfect. Well,
Yeah,
John, again, thank you so much for being on. I
yeah.
greatly
Well, thanks for
appreciate
having
it.
me.
Hope you have a wonderful rest of your night, and we'll talk to you later. All right.
Sounds great, Kyle. Thank you much.
Take care.